Welcome back to RuleBook RX. I'm Dee Dee, and today we have our very special guest,
ED.
ED, and today it's spooky season here in the United States, which means we're going to be talking about Horrified, the American monsters. Now, in this box, we're going to be finding a bunch of things that are called cryptids, okay? Now, we have our regional expert here on cryptids. This is ED, and she's going to talk to us all about cryptids, and then she's going to rank all of her top 6 favorite cryptids in Horrified American Monsters. All right, so ED, let's hear a little bit about yourself. Do you typically like board games?
There are a few I like and few I'd like to burn.
Typically not the biggest board game fan. So, what was it about the Horrified American Monsters that captured your attention?
I really like the fact that it's about one of my favorite things, cryptids. And a cryptid is basically something that's like, if you know Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster, something that it's basically a monster that someone has claimed to see, and you might and there's no telling if it's real or not. That's what I really like about cryptids. And I love how you can have your own investigator, and each investigator in this game has their own little special ability.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Do you want to talk any about the investigators at all? You seem to have a favorite that you would pick every single time. Do you want to tell us about that now?
Maybe.
All right. Well, here, tell you what. Before we get into the cryptids, we'll just kind of talk about the investigators quick. How does that sound?
Sure.
Sure. All right. So, which one was your favorite?
Definitely the psychic. I even made a little name and backstory for her. Willow Shadow Eyes.
Willow Shadow Eyes, psychic investigator extraordinaire. And from there, we've got other crazy kinds. Like, what's nice is they have, each of these come with a double-sided, they're, they kind of look like a notebook or whatever, which is kind of nice. But you've got kind of townsfolk that are interesting. You got the mountain man, you got the journalist who starts at the tavern. I thought that was kind of funny. You got the scout, you've got the agent, you've got the cryptozoologist, and the jock. So Jock's hanging out at the high school, and he, like ED was saying, each of these have a different special ability, and you got into the theme of this.
Yeah, I really like how there's each, a different investigator. They all have their own special ability. Like the psychic, you can place this investigator with the same location as another investigator, or the cryptozoologist. You can place this investigator in a location with any monster.
Mm-hmm.
They all have their own little special ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Now, the main thing of the theme that brought you in right away was what?
The cryptids in the game.
The cryptids in the game. So, let's start going down the list. Let's find out which cryptids are in the game and how they're going to rank here on ED's list of top 6 cryptids. Let's go with your number 6, least favorite. Now, this cryptid list could be mechanics of the game or, just kind of how fun it was to play against them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not really her this is not really a list of maybe her favorite cryptids overall, but kind of how they were in the game, right?
Yeah, how fun they were to play with in the game.
Mm-hmm. That sounds awesome. All right, so let's go with it. Number 6, what was the least fun favorite monster?
I'm pretty sure the one I had least fun playing with was probably the Banshee of the Badlands.
Yeah, the Banshee of the Badlands. Now, which is surprising, because when we first cracked this open, you saw this mini, you thought, whoa, this was... Now, what do you think of the Banshee of the Badlands, overall, the lore of it?
Yeah, the lore of the Banshee of the Badlands, I love.
Yeah,
but
tell me about it. What is the Banshee of the Badlands all about?
The Banshee of the Badlands is supposed to be a demon from the depths of down there.
And who does she travel with?
Her own little sidekick, which is a skeleton. He can play the violin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure the her skeleton companion might even lead someone to death, like to make them follow the music, or the skeleton is looking for music.
Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to quick cut, show you what that game board looks like, talk about the mechanics and any kind of UI UX tricks that help me teach the game, help us learn the game, and then we'll be back with number 5. All right, here we have everything that pretty much comes with the game. There might be a couple things that are out of the box yet, but this is just for clarity of 2 players and versus the Banshee of the Badlands. I'm going to get to the Banshee in just a sec. I want to take a look at the board and a little bit of the rulebook, and then we'll get back to that Banshee feature. So first things first, let's talk about this rulebook. As you can see, it's really nicely laid out, really good illustrations in the front, just the same as the front cover, just that sepia tone, and everything in it kind of looks like what you'd expect in a paranormal field investigator's notebook. You even have like the folder slots to the side, and that carries on the whole book, which is a nice touch. It also does a really good job of showing you what each of these different sections are, because you'll have components and then down to how to play. And it's nice that you can kind of flip on the side and see where you are. I really like that as a UI UX trick. Here we have a lot of visual representation of what you can expect in the game, and then all the different monster tokens set up. And we can show you those as we come across there. As you can see, here's the Banshee. We've got the Banshee mini right here, and then along with a couple of these violins, which are specific to her cryptid location. Moving on, monster setup, really nice, showing how everything is right on the board here. Love when that happens, along with this difficulty, really easy to see, so you can kind of gauge how hard of a game you want right off the bat. And here we go. This also just kind of gives an explanation of what these different monster types are. So when you're getting started, you can kind of get a feel of which monster are we going to use, which one are we familiar with, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite? You can always put that down below. So one thing that I've been noticing with this rulebook is there are these really nice callouts, which also has the same exclamation point on the dice, which I think is a really nice touch. It's the same kind of tone, and then this, which brings the branding together with this project. So if we kind of take a look here, it has all the different like call outs for these different sections. For example, in this move section, it has a really big part right here that draws your attention to say, hey, monsters aren't affected by movement. So it really does a good job of telling you, hey, this is something to look out for. And then same with this down here, we've got a strategy tip, which still has that same gold branding, but just a really light stroke of it behind, which is a really nice way to do it. I don't think that's going to mess with any kind of visibility too much, but I like that that carries that branding on. Next up, we have kind of explaining the different tokens here. We've got citizens, we've got the different items that come with the game, and these things are going to be placed around in the different locations on the board. We can get into that in just a sec. Finally, we kind of have some of these different cards here, which are going to have the monster effects. And those are all different types. They kind of trigger what the monster does. As you can see, that corresponds to back here. We've got the BB for the Banshee, and then, so this would be the Chupacabra, the Ozark Howler, and then that fire token is to show like the frenzy is going to move from one monster to the next, which makes one or more monster more powerful as it goes on. I'm not going to go into too heavy of the rules here, but just kind of showing you what these different cards look like, and then you'll have the different citizens will be matched with one of these icons, and then you're going to place Josie here at the farm, which is on the board. Boom! So that's where Josie's going to start, and hopefully you can save her before all of the creatures of the night try and get her. This starting here is going to go into the monster phase, which down here as well, right there. Flipping over again, this kind of goes into a little bit more in-depth of these different cryptids. Now, let's just kind of flip quickly. This gives a rule for solo play, which if you're going to learn, how to play the game, it's not very different. You can just do what you're going to do on your own, which is great. I have not played this one solo, but I've played the original Horrified solo, and it's rather fine. So this just goes on to show you the frenzy orders and all the different highlights of each of the different cryptids. On the back, we have just the game design and art direction. So that's Mike Mulville and Sam Dawson, I'm going to give the credit to, which I think is a great rulebook. They did a good job with not going too crazy with color, keeping everything, in this nice branded style, I think, which looks great. So yeah, that's the rulebook. High marks for me there. So let's talk about the cryptids themselves. And tell you what, let's also talk about the characters too. As ED was talking about, this is her favorite character. It's the psychic. And when you have the psychic character, you have a special action that you're going to be able to use here, which is place your investigator in another location with another investigator. This is really fun to have this character kind of pop in and around and giving, these different items around, which is really fun to use. And then we got where you're going to put them. So the starting location is the mansion. So you just got to kind of look around. This is the one thing that gets a little weird with the game, is trying to figure out, okay, the mansion, I know I saw it. There it is. So it's kind of have to get into a rhythm of finding where they are and just kind of knowing where they are, but it doesn't really hamper the game too much. Same thing with the jock here. He's going to start at the stadium, and the only difference, they've got some actions here. Both of these have 4 action points that they can deal with. The journalist has 5, but he doesn't really have a special ability per se other than having 5 actions per turn, which is great. So then once we look at these different cryptid cards, you're going to have the setup. This will be front and back. So it always shows, hey, this is the monster setup for all the different monsters on any of these. So that's kind of nice. You get the one started, and you don't have to keep flipping it over. If you've already started the setup here, you can just grab another random monster and go from there. Banshee. We've got the cryptid report. You can always read more about these cryptids inside the book or do your own research on them. That's fine too. But this kind of shows you the frenzy order. So where's this frenzy going to start? I believe it's the lowest gets the frenzy. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's going to start and then move back and forth between them, and that frenzy is going to correspond to different things that are bad on here. For this one, you have to survive the skeleton. Each player has their own colored violin. It's kind of hard to tell the blue and the green apart from these, so keep that in mind. You may, if you're playing with someone colorblind, you may have to help them with some of the tones here because they are a little close. But you are trying to avoid your violin going into the skeletal messenger or skeletal violin player and taking you to wherever you're going to go after this mortal coil. In order to beat this one, you have to be in the same location as the Banshee. So if somehow Banshee is here and this character has 2 of these different yellow items, you can defeat her. So I agree with ED, not the most exciting cryptid for a really cool looking mini and backstory. So that's the Banshee of the Badlands. Let's go back and let's hear more about number 5. So there we go. That was Banshee of the Badlands. So tell me about it. Why is this on the bottom of your list?
I don't know. It just, for some reason, wasn't as big and great as, like, say, Bigfoot or,
I agree. Like, the mechanics itself, I found a little strange. Some of it wasn't super clear, which we kind of will talk about in in that previous part. But yeah, I agree. We'll bring it back maybe at some point. Maybe we'll retry it. But sounds good. That was our number 6, Banshee of the Badlands. Let's hear it. What's number 5?
Ozark Howler.
Oh, so the Ozark Howler here, we didn't know too much about before getting the game, and we still might not know a whole lot. But what do you know about the Ozark Howler?
I do know that it does have a blood-curdling cry, apparently.
Mm-hmm. That's probably where the howler part comes from.
Yeah. Hello!
So from legend, it says that it just is a bear-like creature, and it just kind of stomps around the Ozarks.
Yeah, bear-like creature with horns, as you can see.
So we'll cut now. We're going to take a look here and see what the mechanics are like. We'll look at the game board of the Ozark Howler, how it affects the game, and what we think right now. All right, so here we have everything kind of zoomed in for the rest of these cryptids that we have. So this is for the Ozark Howler. You've got the card right here. What makes the Ozark Howler a little different is this little track here that you're going to be keeping tabs of. So what they are is they have these different colored items on there, and when you go to this mine that is on the board, you're going to be able to turn in some different tokens to
to unlock these. And as you unlock these, it's going to get easier for you to hunt down and take out the Ozark Howler. You're going to need to use this Abandoned Mine to get there and reveal tokens, so you're never going to know what they are until after you've gone there. Sometimes they're going to be as easy as a couple here, but in rare instances, you're going to get the 7+, which is really tough to get. So sometimes this monster could be a little hard, or it could be kind of easy depending on what gets flipped. You can always mitigate that if you're playing with younger players or someone that wants a quicker game, but that is always an option as well. We've got these Death's Head tokens, which are kind of an interesting mechanic. Every time you're going to roll your Cryptids dice here, for every one of these exclamation points you're going to get, one of the players gets the Death Omen, that eventually starts making this creature attack towards them. The Ozark Howler card gets drawn, they might go towards that person and do some major damage to them. So you do not want to get one of those Death's Omen tokens. But that is everything that comes with the Ozark Howler. Pretty decent mini. I thought he looked pretty cool myself. And let's go back and hear more what ED has to say.
And we're back. So that's kind of how the Ozark Howler works. Tell me about it. Why does Ozark Howler round out the bottom of the list?
I don't know, just like Banshee of the Badlands, not much to do, just collect a few things.
There was some interesting stuff that happened with it when we were playing. We played with your grandma, and she was the one who got a lot of those weird death tokens, or the doom tokens, and so she got hit a couple times. She ended up dying from the Ozark Howler. So that one was a little difficult in that way, which was kind of cool. But yeah, that's I can see what you're saying. It was kind of like interesting little way of doing it, but not super great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell us about the Ozark Howler?
Not really. I don't know.
Yeah, he was kind of easy to beat. His spot only has 3 locations that you got to deal with, and you got to turn over the same kinds of items. So it's not super exciting, nothing too meaty, but
yeah. See where I'm coming from, you guys.
All right, so we got number 5. Let's go down to number 4. What is our number 4 favorite cryptid?
Is Mothman.
Oh, Mothman. Interesting. What's strange to me is so far with Mothman and the Banshee of the Badlands, it's for you. This list isn't about your favorite overall cryptids. It's about the mechanics of it. So what's the Mothman all about for anyone that doesn't understand Mothman?
The Mothman is actually an omen of doom. If you catch him anywhere, that's a sign. Get out of there. Warn everybody else. Because bye-bye to that building. Because in 1967, a bridge collapsed, killing a bunch of people. And on that bridge, before, there were a few Mothman sightings on it prior to the tragedy.
So Mothman is what we would call a harbinger of doom. If we see it, we better get out of there. So we better get out of this right now and take a look at the board, and we'll find out how Mothman is going to prophesize your doom right now.
All right, so here we have everything for the Mothman all ready to go. We've got the Mothman mini, which, he looks pretty cool. Definitely a formidable foe when we look at the card itself. But yeah, that's our guy right here. He comes with these traps and the Eye of the Mothman, the Eye of the Tiger, whatever you want to call it, which he's going to put on unsuspecting people. And then his special ability when rolled one of these, and if you get the dreaded exclamation point, he's going to go on a holy whirlwind of terror to take out anyone in its path to whoever is controlling the Eye of the Mothman. So he becomes a pretty hardcore enemy, and you have to go around and set all these traps before he's slowed down enough where he can start doing damage. Once you have all of these set with different icons, you have to go to these different locations and set them. So you have to go to the mansion, set this. This can come on the board, and then you go and take this little trap icon, and you're going to flip it to the armed side. So once all of these are gone, going to those locations, you're then going to have to get at least 10 of these yellow tokens that are going to equal up to 10 on there to beat them. So in an area that has one of these traps on it. So he's not easy for what you would think of just a Mothman to be. I found him to be kind of tricky to fight. To Edie's point, you're just kind of like it's funner than the other ones, but still it's kind of like okay, you know, it takes some coordination to get to, but it still kind of felt underwhelming for the harbinger of doom that this cryptid is. Let's go back and hear some more. Google, stop recording. Hey Google, stop filming.
Let's hear about Mothman. What was your impression of the Mothman mechanics?
I mean, the moth, like, being able to set up traps and everything, like, that was okay. That was good, but, like, not super effective on Mothman, if I say so myself.
The eye mechanic where you're placing that eye around and then he just makes a straight beeline and kills people. It was kind of... Mothman's really not known for killing things and destroying things, but I suppose maybe it's just like the doom and that's in his wake that you could describe that, but I thought that was kind of weird. I mean, you have to put some kind of terror in the game, but it was weird to me that the Mothman, who generally could be a good guy, with that eye mechanic, you would put the eye and then, you know, it would just go in a straight beeline towards the eye, killing anyone in its path. So that was weird.
Well, it's not really that. I don't know, I just...
Just wasn't super fun for you?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's okay. All right. So you ready to do number 3? This is the top half here. Who do we got for our number 3 favorite cryptid?
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra! The Mexican goat sucker.
So, I mean, like, you could place around, like, little goats and collect them, and without the goats, you can't get him. But that's why he's like half on the list. Like, you collect them, but if you don't get those goats, then you can't get him.
Yeah, what do you think about, like, tell us more about what is a chupacabra for people that may not know what a chupacabra is.
If you have a farm somewhere in, like, Puerto Rico, right?
I think so.
Yes. If you have a farm somewhere in Puerto Rico, you should be very protective if you have gotten any of your animals, such as a chicken or a horse or a goat, something like that. You should be very overprotective by now because Chupacabra is like a animal vampire, I guess. He's
just
like,
taking bites and blood from weird goats and other creatures?
I mean, I guess.
Ew. So yeah, the Chupacabra, I thought Mexico, it could be Puerto Rico, but yeah, terrifying little creature. We'll take a look here at the board and what this does, and then we'll be right back.
All right, here we've got the Chupacabra set up. Now, we're kind of talking about, with this one, you are trying to go after goats and goats alone. So in this bag of fun, we're going to get all of these different, fun little items from. There are several and quite a bit of these different goat tokens. Come on, focus for me. These goat tokens are going to be used at they're going to come out at the different locations, but you're always going to have to bring them down to the farm. They have this piece right here that you're going to put actually on the board itself. It stays in the pen on here. And once you've got 6 of those collected, then you're going to be able to end the predator, which then you got to go for a totally different type of yellow tokens, these guys right there, to physically destroy the Chupacabra from taking your goats on your farm. Now, there is a particularly nasty ability from the goat sucker as he tries to eat your goats, and if he ever rolls that exclamation point on here, he's going to take one of these brown tokens. Now, just as brown token, because it could be a cow, a wolf, or a pig, I believe, or even in there. Those different things can be removed, but if you're holding on to a couple goats and that light in this exclamation point gets rolled, that's going to hurt you a little bit. So let's go back and see what else we got.
Chupacabra, what do you think about it? What about the mechanics for Chupacabra?
Didn't I just explain that?
A little bit. So part of the thing was collecting the different, like the goats and waiting for the goats to pop up. What did you think about that? Was that fun for you?
Pretty fun. I mean, like,
Pretty thematic with being able to take the goats and you have to go back to the farm to put those back on the board. So that one's pretty busy. You have to be like running around. So someone like the psychic investigator was really good for that one to be able to
definitely
move around so quick, grab those different parts, and then get back to the farm. Was a really clutch move when fighting off the Chupacabra.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I actually beat Chupacabra.
You did beat Chupacabra, yeah. We've had some pretty good luck fighting all these so far, but I think that's because we got our paranormal investigator here knowing how to do it just about every time. Ho, ho, ho. All right, so we ready to get to the top 2?
I'm pretty sure.
All right, I think if you're doing your math at home and you know your cryptids, you know at least where we're going here. We got top 2. What do we got for the number 2?
Sasquatch.
Oh, the Bigfoot, Harry and the Henderson style. Look out, John Lithgow.
Yep. I really liked the fact that you had to, like, get little photos to prove that he's existed, I guess.
Yeah. Tell us more about so as far as I've known you and you've been interested in cryptids, Bigfoot was your first. Like, that was the first cryptid that you really liked. Tell us about Bigfoot and why you like Bigfoot as a creature.
Like, when I started as a beginner as a cryptid lover, the only cryptids I really knew were the Loch Ness Monster and Sasquatch, the really famous ones. Like, the ones you probably know, I probably know. Because,
oh, you definitely know.
Yeah. I just thought going around and collecting the pieces was pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look here at the board. We'll show the different footprint pieces and, like, the puzzle that we're talking about here, and we'll come back and we'll talk about more in just a second. Number 2.
All right, we have the Sasquatch here, Bigfoot, the man himself. Pretty decent sculpt, fine enough. Not much you're going to do with the Bigfoot. The mechanic here, pretty fun. As you can see, there's a couple different things going on. There are these footprint tokens that will come on the board with, different cards and stuff like this. This will send them all to a various location, and then you can use those to turn them in to flip these on here. You can also turn in any of those item tokens that we're so familiar with that we get around the board to the high school to be able to flip over these as well. You're going to put this little icon on the high school, which lets you do exactly what we just said. Flip or swap one of these locations. So looking at this, we're going to, all of these are going to be flipped over the question marks to start. Let's say we're a couple rounds in. We've kind of figured out a little clues here. So we know that there's these locations here. By flipping or swapping, you can do something like this. You can flip it like that. And we're starting to get that picture a little more clear of what we're looking at. So that's kind of how the game goes on. You're going to make these little flips and swaps until you have a completed Bigfoot, and then you can use up to 3 different teal icons to defeat him. So once again, in this one, you're not really trying to kill Bigfoot, you're just trying to prove that he exists, which I think is kind of a nice little change of pace.
All right, so that is Mr. Squatch, Bigfoot here. So, ED, tell us all about the Squatch.
Well, one time he did, like, swap around one of the photos to confuse us. That was a little, like, what a jerk.
Yeah, when that exclamation point was rolled, we had to turn over one of the things. That was interesting. I like that little mechanic of pushing things around and making that photo, and then because we're not killing Bigfoot in this one, we're more or less trying to just prove that he exists.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool that the cryptids can make their own moves. That's pretty fun to think about. Like, the cryptids have their own turn. That you don't even expect. Got
to be on your toes.
Yeah, I gotta be on your. Yeah, I gotta stay alert.
Well, speaking about being alert, it's time for our number 1 favorite cryptid. So I know which one it is, just based on us playing and, process of elimination. But let's hear, what is the greatest cryptid monster in Horrified?
The Jersey Devil.
Jersey Devil.
definitely my top one.
Yeah, so...
Well, as I should say, bottom one, but definitely not at the bottom.
Right.
Definitely at the top.
So, tell us a little bit about the Jersey Devil. Like, what's the legend of the Jersey Devil?
The Jersey Devil is basically like definitely a huge combination of lots of creatures. He's when the sightings of the Jersey Devil were first when the sightings of the Jersey Devil were first announced, people were so scared that schools were even shut down. Like, it came in the newspapers. And basically, in order to beat the Jersey Devil, you have to find out who's the 13th child.
Ooh.
And apparently, the 13th child is the Jersey Devil, but in disguise as a citizen. And you have to figure out who the citizen is. And...
Yeah. So, through the legend, apparently, the 13th child of a witch is this Jersey Devil who does all kinds of nasty, no good stuff. So we're going to take a look at the mechanics and how that worked on here, and then we'll come back and tell you what our favorite part of it was. So let's check it out. Number 1, Jersey Devil. Definitely not the New Jersey Devils going for number 1 anytime for the Stanley Cup. Let's take a look at the Jersey Devil now. Boom!
And here we have everything for the Jersey Devil. This one is quite unique compared to any of the other systems I've seen in this one or in the original Universal Monster style Horrified. So in this one, you're kind of using deductive reasoning along with the actual graphics printed on the cards with these clues to try and figure out which of the citizens is the Jersey Devil. So you're not really looking for the Jersey Devil as a creature itself, but you're trying to figure out which one of the townspeople is the cryptid. So it's a really unique mechanic. So what you got to do is you got to bring these citizens to where they want, like where their safe locations are. So normally these people will come out, you're going to place Willie here at the motel. You're going to place all of these different characters like the doctor, wherever they're going to start. And then all the characters or all these citizens want to get to a different location. So Abe here wants to get to the stadium. In this example with Willie, he wants to get to the tavern. I don't blame you, Willie. For this cryptid here, how you unlock these clues is you bring one of these people and you bring them to their safe zone. Once the citizen is at the safe zone, you're going to flip over one of these clues. And these are going to use to identify on these cards themselves which of these characters could be. The doctor's not really wearing gloves in this one, so we know they're no longer a threat. They can put them back. But Willie doesn't have gloves, so he can probably go to, and you're going to use a couple different things like, this guy has gloves, glasses, and a necktie. So those are the 3 clues. So after a period of time, we'd be able to guess that it is the grease monkey, Gus. So then we'd be working together to try and find 14 points worth of tokens to defeat the Jersey Devil. Quite an interesting mechanic, I will say. That's all I've got for it. This was my favorite as well. Very fun to play. If I'm ever going to play this version of Horrified again, Jersey Devil's my short list.
All right, so there we go. That's the Jersey Devil. What did you like about the Jersey Devil to make your number 1 favorite cryptid in this game?
Well, finding out who the 13th child was is pretty fun. Like, the idea that the Jersey Devil is the son or daughter of a witch and can turn into somebody or, that. And I also thought it was cool that the Jersey Devil would try to confuse us by, switching around clues. You have to find out, speaking of clues, you have to find out 3 clues. Mm-hmm. And we got glasses, gloves, and flowers in the background, and got who ours was, the
Recluse Mr. Cash.
Yeah, Recluse Mr. Cash.
Which I always hope was Johnny Cash, but probably not so much.
Yeah, but that's not going to be who you are, so don't think I I gave a little spoiler that, wait a second, we were supposed to...
Yeah, the mechanic... the mechanic of the the clues and stuff like that, it's always going to change. So like, don't worry, it's not always going to be this dude. It's because when you flip them over, like we were showing in that little tutorial, it could be any character based on what's in the background, kind of like Outfoxed, which we used to play quite a bit as a family, right?
Yeah, I remember playing that game.
Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that because that mechanic is so familiar to you, that you liked it. That was kind of like working together, looking at the clues to find that 13th child.
Ooh,
Oh.
spooky season.
Oh, spooky season indeed. So, ED, tell me about it. What do you think about Horrified American Monsters version?
It's pretty fun. You should play it. You over there should play it. You should play it. Oh, and you should play it too.
Oh, what are they doing here?
Wait a second, how are you right now, House?
So, did you like the mechanic of playing together as a family against the board?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Did that put a little less high stakes and, no one's winning and losing, we're just kind of going against the board?
Yeah, going against who we selected to be the monster we're playing against.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my recommendations. Yeah.
Your favorite cryptids. How likely are you to play this again?
Probably gonna give you a 79% of a chance.
A 79% chance of playing it again. That's pretty good coming from this one. Now, I did show you that they did have that other monster edition of Horrified, like the old classic movie monsters. What do you think? Do you want to try that one or not so much?
Maybe we can do it.
Maybe we can check it out. We'll tell you what, leave in the comments here if we get enough saying, yes, please do the original Horrified with the classic movie monsters. Maybe we'll have a monster movie marathon here. And we'll check it out. We'll play some Horrified. And we'll come back and we'll tell you all about what we think. ED, what else you want to tell us here before we go?
I mean, I don't really have anything to say. I think I got, monster load of information.
Oh my goodness. That's brilliant. Okay, so thank you so much, ED, for coming on by. If we have any more spooky related or cryptid related things, are you going to be coming back to join us?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, that's going to do it for us. If you like this kind of thing or taking a look at the UI UX of board games, the instruction book, that kind of stuff, come on by, hit that subscribe button, hit a like if you found this interesting and fun like we did. That'd be great. Anything else that you want us to review here, put that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear any kind of feedback. But for now, I think we're going to get back to spooky season, maybe watch ourselves a scary movie, and eat some scary food. Ooh! All right, so from RuleBook RX, I'm Dee Dee.
I'm Edie.
And come on back and have yourself a fantastic and scary day.
Bye, guys.